Who would you usually share your experience with, and do you think it's important that you share your story with them, and things like the importance of explaining the Holocaust?
Well, I started doing that when I was in Kingston and joined the Holocaust Working Party because I was the Quaker representative on the Interfaith Forum, and the Interfaith Forum organised it for the council. And I started work there on sharing the experience, and had been to a couple of the Holocaust Memorial Day training events. Because I think it's very important that it shouldn't happen again. And it will only not happen again if people are aware of how easy it is to slip into real difficulties. I mean, I think it's desperately sad what's happening at the moment in Syria. 7 million people have been driven out, or at least out of their home. And I don't know what the Middle East is going to do with all these refugees. And Europe is not very anxious to take any. England isn't either. America isn't either. So it's, that seems desperate to me. I don't know how much I can do about it, except demonstrate and or support those that do.
Is it important for you personally to share your story with other people, and if so, why?
Not specifically. I mean, in a way, it's a bit churning up old things, so it's not that much. I mean, it's not fun, if you know what I mean, to do. I think it's important to do, and so if I'm asked to do it, I will. And it's mainly as a way of ensuring that it doesn't happen again, never again. And to tell people to speak up if they see hatred and prejudice. Don't just walk by. Don't close your eyes and walk on the other side of the street. It could be you next, And I have seen that sort of thing. I mean, I was standing on Stoke Newington High Street in London once, and this woman next to me had what was obviously a mixed race child in her buggy, baby carriage, and this woman came over and spat her in the face for had never seen her before, just spat her in the face standing in the bus queue. And I had to say something, to both of them actually, get out the tissues and help her, all this sort of thing. But, that sort of blind hatred, you can't just stand by and see it happen and do nothing. So, yeah, I do feel impelled to do something when I see a real misjustice or hatred expressed in that sort of way.
And do you think that's because of the experiences you've had, or you would be like that sort of anyway?
Well, I have no way of knowing. But I would imagine that it has something to do with, yeah. Mm-hmm. It wasn't fair that we lost our homeland just on somebody's whim. So, and security and, family and all that. So.
What do you find is the reaction of other people who, like, if you tell them for the first time that about your story of your life, how do they react to it?
Well, mostly they're surprised because they expect me to have an Austrian accent. So, not an American accent. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think surprise. I have met some sort of, stiffening of the back. They're a bit surprised that I have Jewish heritage. So that's their problem, not mine, as far as I can see.
Do you come across some sort of prejudice, anti-Semitism in any way in your life?
I know there is quite a bit of anti-Semitism around. I have enough contact with the Jewish community to know that. And I mean, that's true of the mosque as well. When I was in Kingston and part of the Interfaith Forum, we were very close as a network with each other and went and cleaned up the mosque when the English Defence League smeared bacon grease on it, and the Jews helped to clean it up as part of the making a statement about the fact that this isn't the way to treat anybody. So yes, there's an undercurrent of that around. Yeah.
Would you identify yourself as a Holocaust survivor? And if you do, when did you kind of start that process of identification?
Well, my son, the elder one particularly, makes fun of me about that because he said, "Mum, you're not a Holocaust survivor." And I never considered myself one. And it was only when I got a pension on that basis that I thought, well, in a way, I mean, it certainly has had an effect on my life, a profound effect on my life. So I don't feel a fraud in taking the money. But thankfully, we didn't have that. I had the refugee experience and certainly experience of hatred and losing homeland. But I didn't consider myself a Holocaust survivor. I have to say, which I forgot to say in the interview, that it's not that my family wasn't affected. My father lost all of his cousins and aunts and uncles in Hungary. All of them. I think there was a family of at least 45, and they were all killed very late in the war. In late 1944, the Hungarians were finally, I think, press-ganged into releasing they had interned their Jews, but they hadn't hurt them. And they then shipped them all to Auschwitz very late in the war, which seems such a pity. And I do have pictures of some of these people, in photo albums. So it wasn't that I was totally untouched by it. But no, I didn't consider myself, and in many ways don't. If you want to talk to a real Holocaust survivor, I can give you the names of the two that are in the AJR group who have been in the camps. But the refugee experience was pretty hard for most of us in one way or another. Worse for some than others, but very disruptive and very difficult for our parents' generation. I mean, that's one thing we recently, as I said, I've recently been to Austria, and one of the women that was there, who was an English woman, who'd actually been a hidden child in France, so that was a slightly different experience. And her parents did survive the war, and she met up with them afterwards and, became part of the family again. But she said it was the parents that should have got the money and the reparations and because they really missed out. She didn't feel she missed out on that much, except that she didn't have her parents with her, and they had such horrific experiences till after the war. So there is, it was a long time coming. Holocaust Memorial Day only started in late 1990s, 98, 99, in Sweden, and in this country in 2001 or 2, I can't remember which. So it's a relatively recent thing. And the whole notion of Holocaust survivor is a relatively recent invention. So